Season 2 of the Pat and JT podcast.
Oh man, I'm here at last. The best time, always gonna be the best. Come on!
Exclusively on the Parkville Network.
Holy cow. Take 15 of this episode of the Pat and JT podcast. Text us, which we got a lot of texts about our next guest. 402-403-9478. Also, a lot of messages on Facebook and Twitter. You probably saw him on Songland 2 nights ago.
NBC.
As we speak. NBC. Tim Halperin, who was on with us a while ago, talking about it. Man, we are so proud of you and what you did on that show.
Thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate it. It was such an unbelievable and surreal experience, really.
It was really fun to watch, and I've watched other episodes of it. It was like at the open when they were doing the opening credits. I'm watching and I'm like, where's Tim? Where's Tim in the opening credits? Where's Tim? Where's Tim? And then they starting your first, and I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
He's right off the bat. If you want to kind of walk us through the whole experience of the show itself, who your judges were, the musical guest.
And then we want to play a little bit of your version of the song on there too. In a little
Can we
bit.
do that? Is that legal for us to play some of your song? Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. So when we first got out there, it was like mid-January, I think January 17th. And at that point, I didn't know which artists we were pitching to. And the next morning, we had a meeting with the executive producers, which is really rare. That doesn't happen usually on reality shows. But we met with them, and they were just from the get-go really encouraging to us.
Can I ask you, your executive producers, is it one of your executive producers, was that Adam Levine? Did I see his name?
He is, yes. He wasn't in that room. We never got to see Adam.
Oh.
Adam was a mystery man
never
during
mind.
the production. I think he was like sort of, they have, on the other side of the set, they have chairs for the execs. And I think he was there for our shooting days. But we didn't see him outside of that.
Gotcha.
So,
okay. Didn't mean to interrupt.
yeah.
Go ahead. Okay.
No, you're fine. So we met with them, and the execs told us that Lady Antebellum would be the artist we were going to pitch to. And I was pretty nervous about that because I've never written country before. And so I was a little bit surprised and kind of nervous of like, oh man, I'm the pop guy. I would be an easy person to cut, but but the more I started really digging into their catalog, because I'd only really heard their radio songs, and there's a lot of pop there.
Yes.
And so that sort of eased my anxiety a little bit. But yeah, so then we would have a rehearsal day before each of our performances, and we also had a day where we shot all the B-roll, so where you see like our lyrics popping up around our heads and stuff before we perform our songs. So we shot that stuff. And then, for the performance days, we would go one at a time. They would tell us the order that we were going to perform in when we got there. And for my first performance, you saw some of the banter, but there was a lot more of the banter beforehand. And
I just got to say, I'm glad to see that you didn't feel like you needed to flirt with the ladies this time.
Seriously. Married Tim Halperin is much different than single Tim Halperin with J-Lo.
Yes. That would have been great for my image.
Yeah, right.
As a married man, but on Esther.
I'm expecting a baby, but man, you're hot.
But now you know why I wrote this song.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
There's always a chance.
There's always a chance. You never know.
Okay. So, but they didn't show this, but Esther grew up in Omaha. Did y'all know that?
I didn't know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so when they asked me where I was from, I said Omaha, and she said, I grew up in Omaha. And I was like, no way. I had no idea. And she went to North High School. So
did not know that.
Well, that's interesting.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So they asked me more about my story, perform the song, and then my first session with them, where you see us talking through the song and them offering up some ideas, some changes.
So let's play, before you get any further. Let's play this, not the whole thing. We'll just play up to the like halfway of it. This was your first performance in front of everybody here on the show.
Wishing wells and shooting stars just let me down.
Yes.
Never had to pray this hard, but I'm learning how. And the wall between us, paper thin, but I can't break through. Feels like I'm losing you.
Wow.
That's really interesting there.
Yes.
So darling,
is so
I
good,
love that
Tim.
song.
That
I do.
is so good. It's so catchy.
Thanks, you guys.
It's
was-
just typical Tim Halperin.
It was great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
it is a song that I felt so confident in performing because I do feel like it's in my wheelhouse as a songwriter, but also as a performer. So I was really happy that the performance came across on TV as well as I felt like it did in the room, because sometimes you never know with TV mixes for the
Right.
audio and just how they edit it. But
You know, we might kind of
yeah.
back up here just real quick, because the people listening to you, the songwriters that were listening to you, can you you mentioned Esther Dean, and then the other ones that were there, Shane McAnally and Ryan Tedder. Ryan Tedder's the one that you worked with, and
Yep.
what's his history?
Yeah. Ryan, he's the lead singer of OneRepublic,
Yeah.
and
He's a
so
genius.
obviously
Yeah.
his first major hit was Apologize. But around that same time, he started writing with other artists, and so it was during that time that he wrote Bleeding Love with Leona Lewis,
Yes.
and then it just kind of took off from there. And so he's kind of written with, you name it. Halo by Beyonce is one of his, and the Jonas Brothers, their last couple of hits, Sucker and What a Man Gotta Do. But just he's had monster songs throughout the last 10 years. Pretty much at any given time on pop radio, there'll be 2 or 3 Ryan Tedder songs.
And he's been on both sides of this, because OneRepublic was also the musical guest last season in one of the
Right.
episodes. So he knows all sides of this now.
Yeah. I think that experience was helpful for him to know how the artist feels walking into that room, and how to relate to them in that moment.
I mean, how encouraging too. I mean,
Yeah.
while you and we'll post a link in the description to the YouTube video of the whole song. But as you're seeing their reaction, hearing their reactions the first time they heard this, it had to be pretty encouraging. Number one, and then they come back and start giving you feedback. And you had mentioned then you break away with him and you start getting some ways to tweak the song, make it better. Did you ever think of doing it as a duet before they suggested that?
No, I definitely had not thought about that. But when they suggested it got me excited, because that meant they heard themselves singing it.
Yes.
As Lady Antebellum. And so I immediately jumped on that idea because, the thought for me was, I'd never pitched to another artist before, but the thought for me was, okay, if they're asking to do something where they can hear themselves on it better, that means they like the song, and that means they're thinking about themselves singing it. So I need to do that. And luckily, my friend Haley, who lives out in LA, and, we've been friends for 8 or 9 years and have sung together a bunch. And she's just so great. And immediately I thought of her and, told Ryan about her, and he was super excited about her being on the show as well. So,
She helped you with the duet, so you could present it as a duet. That was awesome.
How much time did you actually spend with him in making tweaks to the song? I mean, we used to only see minutes on the actual episode, but how much time did you guys spend? How many tweaks did you say no to? Did he say no to? What was the process?
Liked when they were actually making comments when you first presented it, and they made a couple of changes with a phrasing or changed a word and actually it'd be in the title of it as well. I feel like I'm losing you, or how'd they change that to?
Yeah, so they wanted at the end of the chorus to say, feels like I'm losing you, and then say I'm not losing you.
That's
so it
it.
feels more desperate, which I thought was really, we only made 2 changes. We made that change, and we changed the third line of the chorus from go down throwing punches to I'm too afraid to say it, but I know it's true.
So now are you
That's huge, though.
That is, I mean, seriously, for them to
they kept your song intact.
Because flash forward just a couple seconds, and we'll ask about this.
wait.
The one that actually won the night, it's like wasn't even the same song. But anyway, so are you going to keep either of those changes and take them back and make it a part of your original song, or keep it the way you wrote it, OG?
Yeah, no, I mean, I thought those changes were very tasteful, and I thought they fit the song really well. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep those changes for sure. But I did. I mean, it was very validating. They didn't show. So a couple of things. They didn't show. First of all, Ryan. They spoke to that. They spoke to Ryan and Shane. Said, "Man, we wouldn't change anything with this verse. Like it's great."
Wow.
And so that was really validating. And then when Shane said about that line in the chorus, "Go down throwing punches if you want me to," his reasoning for wanting to change it was he felt like it was too violent of a line for a relationship song. And that was something I'd never thought about, and I thought was a really good point.
Yeah.
And so,
True.
you know, he's a pro, and I thought that was a really great instinct from him. And so, and, you know, I think the line that Ryan came up with is stronger. So those are the two changes, and I was easily on board with those. When Ryan and I had our first session that you saw, they had drummed up some sort of an early mix of some thoughts on the production from what Charles had said from Lady Antebellum during my session, and it was cool, but it was like too rock. It had very much a rock feel with the beat and instrumentation and stuff. And then Ryan sat down at the piano, like you saw a couple snippets of, and we just started working through it at the piano. And that just felt like more of the heart of the song to me. And so I told him, I was like, man, I really like this approach a whole lot more. And that's when he started talking about, we could add some cello and just make it very, you know, more emotional. And I was like, I think that's the approach. And
it just sounded
so
so
that's
good,
what
man.
he
From
ended
your
up doing, you know?
your first version was amazing. The tweaks in the final performance were incredible. I mean, goosebumps.
Thanks.
At one, like, guys were smiling. I was just so proud. I was just so proud of how well you were doing. It was just awesome.
Really, it was great.
Want to take a second to thank American Heart Association for being a supporter of our podcast.
Absolutely. Really proud to be working with them and passing along some good information. Would you recognize the most common signs of a stroke? They're important to know.
Just remember, FAST. Face, arms, speech, and time. FAST.
Exactly. If one side of their face droops when they smile, if they can't keep both arms raised in the air, or their speech is slurred or strange, or you see any of those signs, call 911 immediately.
When it comes to a stroke, every second counts. My grandfather had a stroke,
Right.
and I realized that, and they got to him in time, and it helped.
It's all in this the simplest thing. Remember, FAST. Face, arms, speech, time.
Visit heart.org to learn more about how to prevent a stroke and recognizing the warning signs of a stroke.
And as Pat alluded to, in the end, and I want to come back to and touch on the competitors and how well you all got to know each other as songwriters. But this at the end, they chose, what was her name? Madeline Merlot.
Madeline.
They picked her song, which came in titled "I'll Drink to That" and left titled "Champagne Night." None of the lyrics were the same, and so as a layperson, just watching the show, I'm like, I thought this was about songwriters, and I thought we were looking
Right.
for their phrasing, and that's where I felt like you got ripped off.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was a little bit interesting. I remember the day because Madeline worked with Shane the first time we were out there. So before I actually got into Ryan's studio, and I remember talking to her about, I was like, so did y'all change anything? And she's like, yeah, we changed. Shane wanted to change all of the lyrics. And
How'd she feel about that? I mean, seriously, that had to be like a dagger.
She was very nervous about it. She was very nervous about it. And here's why. It's for a lot of reasons, but the biggest was she walked in already with 3 other co-writers on the song. And so they not all of them were very on board with her taking the song to Songland, because they were saying, we like it the way it is. We don't think it needs any changes. We think we can, you could sing it, or we can get it cut by somebody without that.
Yeah.
And so when they changed everything, and then also it reduces the original songwriter's share of the song by half. And so, I think she was the most nervous about telling those songwriters, oh, and by the way, none of the lyrics are the same.
One of the things that they said, and Lady Antebellum, I don't remember which one of them said it, but anyway, had made reference to, it came down to what we needed for our show. And I thought, wow, that's really not fair, because you submitted a song and then they pair you up with an artist. The artist is looking for something particular you didn't know about going in.
Right. And I didn't even know. You didn't know about that until I saw the show, that they were looking for a summer song.
Yeah. And
so
I'm
like, I would have pitched a different song. I would have pitched my song Dance, honestly, over a song about,
You're right. It's
emotional relationship song.
Yeah. It just wasn't, I thought, well, that's kind of like the switch, switching the bait there. What do you call that? Anyway.
Bait and switch.
Bait and that thing.
Yeah.
That we'll get you in here and then we're going to take you. But anyway, I was just kind of like, well, that's that stinks
kinda
because
stinks.
you didn't know coming in what you were presenting for. And so
Yeah.
with her, they liked the sound of the song, but they didn't
Yes.
want those kind of lyrics. And I'm like,
Right.
wow.
And they did, and
And I liked her original song a lot.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
it was super catchy and great, but it wasn't quite a fit for Lady Antebellum. It didn't seem like from what they were saying. But I think at the end of the day, what I walked away with feeling was, you know what, if someone before Songland ever happened, if someone were to give me the option of either A, getting the song cut by somebody, but having it look like a totally different song, or B, being a finalist on Songland and having all but 2 of my lyrics totally intact, and I would have chosen B.
Yeah.
Because that's just where I'm at in my career, and what I think what I value most is that I want to be able to, I don't know, I want to be seen as that kind of a person, and that's kind of what I want to.
Yeah. Agreed.
Moving forward, I think that's going to be the most helpful for me, is being known as a songwriter who could walk in the door with Ryan Tedder and
Yeah.
only have 2 lines different.
I mean, that's a
when you
big
walk out the
deal.
door.
That's
That
a really
is.
big deal. So now, is it still technically it's your song? You can sell it to somebody else? Because I have a feeling. I mean, you could count. I can count on what if I had 10 hands. The country artists that watched that show and probably said, "Man, I need to record that song. I want that song." Have you been contacted by anybody?
Yeah. So the way it works is, yes, because I still, clearly have ownership in the song. I can pitch it. I wrote it with another guy in Nashville. He can, and then the 3 of the writers on the panel and their publishing can pitch it as well. And so, yeah, we started pitching yesterday, and have already gotten really good response. And so
That's great.
It's still very early on. To get a song cut, I mean, Songland is sort of like a lightning round of the process, but it takes a long time because there are a lot of players that have to sign off on, if a country artist, it's like, it's not only them, it's their management, it's their label, it's their publishing, it's all these people that have to be good to go with them putting it on a record. And
Yeah.
so it'll be a minute before, we find out, but I feel very confident, especially initially right after the show, with the response that we've already been getting
Right.
from publishers has been really good.
This is going to come out too. The show's going to release it as well, I'm sure, because like they released
No,
all the
they're
songs
not
from last
actually.
year.
They
They're
changed
not.
that this year.
Really?
And that pissed me off because the next morning I got up and I went on my Apple Music because I wanted to hear your version of that version, and it wasn't there.
Yeah, I think it's actually a good thing. For me, now that my song is a country song, it's not something like I would have to really think through how I would perform that. But then if I release it, I think it lowers my chances of a major country
It's
artist
true.
cutting it.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's true because it is.
so-
That's a
It
good
kind of you kind of lay the groundwork and say this is how it sounds, and somebody else probably won't.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that they released everybody's last year, and I would have been kind of, as a songwriter, you're thinking, well, now you released it,
Yeah, I never thought about it that way. That's
and
true.
now somebody else probably. But they did release the new song, "Champagne Night." I see.
Yeah,
That's
of
how-
course they'll release the winning song for sure. For me too, like I think I don't mind waiting a little bit, but also what they're really wanting this year is to get as many songs cut as possible. I think that's the goal, because they made that very evident. Like that's why we're not releasing the songs, is that we want to try and get as many of the finalist songs cut by artists this year, because it looks good for everybody, right?
Right.
Like that'll be a great news story for Songland, because it's like clearly they're curating some of the best songs for the show. But it also looks good for the artist, because it's like, oh, this song was on Songland and people heard it, loved it, wished it would have gotten cut. And now I can come in and be the hero. And it looks great for, someone like me, if my song didn't get picked, and then to have it get picked by somebody else looks really good.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
so-
true. That's interesting. My
So,
gosh!
so
well,
talk to us.
congratulations.
So
That's
was
awesome.
it a kind of a rough weekend between you and your wife? It was the catalyst for that song.
It's so funny because that was a song where, like, I wasn't even at odds with Kylie. If I'm being completely honest, I had to embellish.
You lied
for a
again.
song. I lied again.
Oh my God.
For sure. I've got a good reputation to be a liar, and so thought I'd run with that. No, it's since I've been in Nashville, I write so many songs at this point, where really, it's almost like sometimes you're grabbing emotion from your past, right? And so, or from somebody else's, whoever you're in the room with. But that one in particular, I remember vividly the night that I started coming up with it. I just sat down at the piano and found that chord progression, and it felt very fresh to me. And I started coming up with and wrote the first verse. And then I had a session the next day with the guy I wrote the song with, showed him the verse idea, and we had the song done within a couple hours.
Wow.
But really, it was just more of trying to dig in on that emotion of desperation. And we finished the song, and I'll never forget this. He was when we do a song, I track the vocal, and he's in the there's a divide, and he's in the room with the computer editing and recording, and he said into the talkback mic, he's like, "Did we just write a hit song in 2 hours?"
That's pretty awesome.
And I was like,
Gives me goosebumps,
man, this feels great. And at that moment, we were like, man, what if Sam Smith cut this song? And I still think that would be a really, really great artist to cut the song. But any artist like Sam Smith or like Chris Stapleton, if it stays country, but somebody who just has that
Heart.
longing and emotion in the tone of their voice, and they can carry that through. So those are the kinds of artists that would get me excited about singing it.
That's awesome.
Bottom
My
line,
God.
Daddy needs to
Yeah.
get pizzade,
Right?
too. That's right.
Holy smoke.
Yeah,
That's right.
especially with a baby.
That's right. Got a mortgage to pay.
Hey, I got a question for you too, off subject just a little bit, but American Idol news. I saw they were just talking about this. They're going on with the season, and they're all doing it from home.
Oh,
Really?
So Ryan and whoever, Katy Perry are in California, and whoever else is wherever they are, and all the artists as well, all the contestants are going to be
Seriously?
from home,
That is very interesting.
so they can move forward with it. And I thought,
Here's me
that
singing
would be-
CeeLo Green into my internal computer microphone.
In my AirPods.
Don't mind my sound effects. don't mind my voice
weird.
changer.
That is very weird.
Yeah,
But
that's.
that'd be-
I thought.
I think there's no way they can get around having production people sent to each of the contestants' homes
I don't
to set
see-
up audio.
Yeah, there's
I
no
don't-
way.
There's no way they can get around that.
to get everybody set up
They'd
equally.
have to. They'd have to, yeah. I mean, they would have to.
I heard him talking about it.
That's
I
so
was like,
interesting.
what?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank goodness you didn't have to do that.
That's right.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, watching this and the response from this, it's just felt entirely different from American Idol. There's been zero negativity. It's crazy.
It's not like a
Idol,
reality
that's the part that was
show.
the hardest for me, because people sit at home and they want to be the judge, right?
Yeah.
But with Songland, it just puts songwriters in such a great light and celebrates the songs so well
Yeah.
that the response has just been phenomenal.
Yeah.
I've been very thankful.
It's such a positive show because you guys come in with a great piece and then they never cut it down. They just make it better, and nobody is ever upset about the
Or
changes.
they
it seems
change all
like.
her words and make it a hit.
And
I
it
don't
is a
know.
hit. I mean, that song is going to be a huge hit
say
for them,
whatever.
but it wasn't a hit
Right?
going in. It wasn't.
But
Tim's was,
you're
though.
right though, because there are no losers in the grand
Yeah.
scheme.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
getting that's all good stuff, and they've got great. Do you know who any of the other artists are going to be featured in this season?
Yep. Yeah, they have Boys to Men. They have Florida Georgia Line. Her, H-E-R,
Yeah.
is one of the artists. Louis Fonzi, who
Yeah.
did Despacito. They have...
That's good because he
Oh,
needs a new song
Martina
because that's
McBride.
all anybody knows him for right now.
Yeah.
Yes,
he's a
and
new
he's
guy.
really talented.
So
Yeah.
that's it, and he's just like he's like a one-trick pony in a lot of people's minds. So it's good for
Yep.
him to get some exposure and do
Yeah.
something different. And you said Martina McBride too.
Martina McBride, BB Rexa.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Fun fact, I haven't told people this yet, but the girl who was in my last music video, a song called Tell Me What You Need, and I end up dissing her for my wife in the end of the music video, but
Good call.
she, yeah.
Casting.
Again, that's why I'm not hitting on the panelists.
That's right.
That's right.
So she is a contestant on the Martina McBride episode.
Oh, that's awesome. That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So that'll be cool. But yeah, they do such a good job. BB Rexa is one of the other artists
I like
on the
her.
show this year.
That'll be interesting. Do you know a lot of these people that are competing?
You know what? Only a few of them this year. I knew a couple last year, and I met a bunch of them this year because when we were out there, the 4 of us were out there, but they were also filming different parts of some of the other episodes. Their shooting schedule was crazy. It was like 6 weeks, and they shot everything, and so there was a lot of crossover.
Wow.
And so we did get to meet a lot of the folks from the other episodes.
That's
Ben
cool.
Platt is another artist.
I love Ben. His voice is.
Yeah.
I love Ben Platt. He's great.
Wow.
I do too.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
I'm
incredible.
a huge fan of him.
Me too.
He's
That's
so good.
cool.
I was kind of hoping he would be like it would be him, or I was honestly, when I found out, the other artists or the other songwriters were country writers, then I was thinking, okay, it's probably a country artist. I was hoping it would be Florida Georgia Line just because of how huge they are and how all their songs just are.
It's insane.
Huge.
Yeah.
Crazy, but
Yeah.
Lady Antebellum doesn't
Yeah.
suck.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it turned out Lady Antebellum is more in line with who I am as a person and a writer, I think. And,
Yeah.
And so it was a good look for me. And they were so gracious. Lady Antebellum was very,
They're just
very
good
cool.
people. They just come across as being really ordinary, like regular Joes that have a lot of talent. They don't come off as look at me at all.
Yeah. Yeah. They honestly, they feel like Midwestern kind of people where they're very approachable and easy to talk to. And they were just very supportive of us, I think. And they've all written on their songs here and there. And so they know the journey of the songwriter and respect it. And so
You could tell that,
great.
by the way, some of the comments that they made, because it was very in the box type of talk when they were speaking about some of the things and conversing about the way things sounded or ways to move things around. And I was like, oh, that's like songwriter speech is what they're doing right there. That's how they sound when they talked when they were alone.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah,
it was cool.
It is a language, and they spoke it for sure. I wish they would have shown more of them singing my song because the second time I performed it, they clearly had spent a little more time with it. And they sounded so good on it.
Oh my God.
It was insane. When they started singing it after that second performance I did with Haley, I was backstage because we do 2 takes of each performance, and I was waiting for the second one, and they had to hold production because they kept singing my chorus.
Oh my God.
And I was freaking out. I was like, I think I just won this. I think they're gonna record this because it sounded incredible.
Does anybody have that recorded? Can you get any of that? Can you get any of that back from them?
There's no way. There's no way.
Here's 4 seconds of Lady Antebellum singing my song.
Right.
I'll treasure this forever.
The
but I won't forget it. Even without a recording, it was beautiful.
I felt bad for them when they were sitting on the couch because every artist, when they were playing, they would show them on the couch, and all it was them bobbing their heads because they didn't know the songs yet, and they were just bobbing their heads and they were smiling. And then they cut away and they come back and they were bobbing their heads and they were smiling. I was like, okay, stop going back to the couch.
Yeah,
but it was a lot of fun. It was
cool. The second time I performed that Ryan Tedder was singing the lyrics along with us. I like
Picked that right up. Yeah, that was cool. Good deal.
We're proud of you, man. We're
Yes.
very proud of everybody in Omaha's proud of you, and keep it up.
Thanks.
And keep killing it, and we'll keep in touch, and you just keep writing hit songs and take care of that baby.
You guys stay safe, stay healthy.
Thanks so much, you guys. Love being on the show. So thankful for your support for so many years. Appreciate you guys a ton.
Thanks, buddy. We are too. We're proud of you too. Thanks, man. Bye-bye. Appreciate it. See you later.
All right. See you guys.
So that's Tim Halperin. The link to that video for Songland is in the show notes. Click on it, watch the entire thing, and then support whatever artist makes him $1 million. All right. Thanks for listening to our podcast.
Pat and JT Podcast, a Parkville